Welcome to Cold War Conversations.
This is the British Broadcasting Corporation.
Fünf, zwei, sieben, eins, sechs, neun, acht, drei.
Well, who's our first letter from today, Edward?
An old friend of yours, Doris, Brian Hartley of Thornton-le-Field, asking what's being done to build up Anglo-Soviet relations.
And I'm here to host this final program from the German Democratic Republic for you.
Welcome to episode 22 of Cold War Conversations. Now, today's episode is a Cold War Conversations first. It's our first outside broadcast, and we're talking about East German cars with Alex Goffe and Mark Mullarkey of the UK-based Wartburg Trabant IFA Club. Now, before we start, I would again like to thank all those that are supporting the podcast with monthly pledges via Patreon. It is very much appreciated and will allow us to expand the scope of the podcast. If you'd like to support the podcast further and get access to some exclusive extras, then go to our website at coldwarconversations.com and use the Patreon link on the homepage. Some of you have asked for the ability to make a one-off donation, and this facility is now available via PayPal. Just go to paypal.me/Cold War Conversations. Now, I don't think Top Gear or Jeremy Clarkson, etc. will have anything to worry about, but I hope you enjoy our chat about the Trabi and the ride I took through the Staffordshire countryside in Alex's Trabant. I am delighted to welcome Alex and Mark. I'm here standing on a beautiful sunny day in Staffordshire next to a Trabant, and both of these guys own Trabants, so we're going to be talking East German vehicles this morning. So guys, what started your interest in East German cars?
Ooh, I think for me it was sort of holidays to Germany and Berlin, and sort of looking at the history and seeing the history there, and
stalking me around the car shows.
And I was kind of stalking Mark around the car shows, and had seen Trabants in the UK, and suddenly decided that I really needed one, and eBay was the way forward. And purchased one, late night purchase, and it arrived, and fell in love ever since.
So you bought it off eBay?
eBay, yeah.
Wow. Sight unseen?
Yeah, completely unseen. It was an import from Hungary, so the seller had brought it across from Hungary, it arrived on my drive, and I sort of had to figure out what to do from then onwards.
Mark, can you come and fix it?
Just interested, how much is if somebody wanted to buy a Trabant, how much would that be?
I think the prices have varied so much now. There was a standard, sort of the import standard price was about 1,200, but they've
dropped again, haven't they?
They've dropped.
And I understand you've also got a moped. Am I calling it wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. So I've also got a Simpson Schwabel moped, which was the iconic East German moped. In a lovely shade of red, and that's also a two-stroke motor, 59cc. It's 4-speed, sort of within the power band and sort of speed, you can imagine how many gear changes you have to do. But it's a fantastic bit of kit, and sort of goes well with the Trabant as well.
Right, and Mark, tell us what you've got.
Where do I start? I've got a 1986 Trabant Saloon, previously ex-military police staff car dash mascot really in Berlin, which is, we think maybe one of two, but we know it's one of two, but the other one's in a museum in East Germany, and we know is the only one running. We've also got Java Better pedal and pop moped as well, which is, what year is that? 87. Which is obviously Czechoslovakian, not East German.
Still Cold War, I'm interested, so we're not exclusively East German on this show.
And it depends where the missus is, if she hears this. There's a ZIL 131 troop carrier as well, which is a rather large Russian monster, isn't it? It's a 9.7 V8 petrol. There's about 4 to the gallon, so it never actually leaves the farm.
Wow.
Run to the petrol station in the back, it's about 45 quid.
So what is that? Some big heavy duty...
big 6x6, go anywhere vehicle, isn't it? A troop carrier.
Yeah.
So the daft thing is actually registered as a bus. So I can drive it on my licence, which is quite good.
Mark's interest goes beyond healthy, I think.
Yeah. If I could buy East German streetlights, I would actually buy them, wouldn't I? But there's some in Hinstock in Shropshire. For no apparent reason, there's one little side road that's got the East German, like, teardrop alien streetlights.
Now, there's not many people that would notice that, but I am suitably impressed by that that knowledge. Can we have a look at the Trabi?
Yeah, of course.
So we're just going to have a look at Alex's Trabi here, which is remind me what sort this is?
This is the combi, so almost like the estate version.
Right, okay. In delightful papyrus white, I think you called it.
That's the one. That's the official colour of it. Hearing a beige is the English version of it. So we've just popped the bonnet.
Okay, yeah.
So this is the fuel tank. This is the fuel gauge, which is a lovely plastic dipstick.
So as you said, there's no actual fuel gauge on the dashboard.
You were built with fuel gauges, but it was quite an expensive extra, wasn't it?
This is the two-stroke engine.
Yeah.
And the sort of air intake for it. And this is the sort of heating exchange unit for giving you
draft heating, isn't it?
Yeah,
which is a bizarre way it's done, isn't it?
It just sort of looks like there's loads missing.
It does.
It looks like there's only half a car here. I will be taking some photos, so I will add these to the show notes on this. But it does look decidedly sparse.
Yeah, but the engine and gearbox are not far off the size of a standard engine, are they?
No.
And especially at the shows when you've got a bonnet up and people are looking like, oh, where's the rest of it?
Yeah.
And that is probably one of the most common things, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they are so simple, though.
Yeah. And this is the manufacturer's plate.
Yep, so
here.
As you can see, made in German Democratic Republic, Web Sachsenring, Automobile Work Zwickau, and this is a Trabant P601K.
And you are number, what's that, 4,700,000 and... No.
4,758,799.
Was that? And then you've got your chassis plate there, and also your manufacturer's date is always stamped into the bulkhead. So 06 1990. But say mechanically they are simple. But one thing you do notice with a lot of parts on it, will always say "made in" English,
right?
Because it was easier to do it in English for a lot of countries it was exported to in the Eastern European Union for them to understand.
Yeah,
because you go from German to Poland to Hungary, nobody can understand each other, but generally everyone had a basic understanding of English.
Yeah.
So you always find it'll always say "made in," but it'll always be made in the German Democratic Republic, and it's one of those silly little quirks that you notice when you own them, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think one of the big myths of Trabants is actually what they're made of. So I think lots of people were under the impression it's actually made of cardboard.
Well, it's cotton wool, which is probably worse than the cardboard jokes, isn't it?
It's actually made of cotton and resin.
Cotton. So what is that's not metal?
No. It's cotton and resin.
Oh, you haven't got.
But yeah, so it's cotton and resin. There are metal panels on these, and it's got a metal frame. But this is cotton and resin, and they were made in big presses, basically.
Yeah.
And I think the sort of rule was that if you need a replacement door, it will not fit your Trabant out the box. You're going to have to modify it a little bit because basically
every part was hand fitted. The silly thing like the door gaps was a man with a grinder, but how new was that grinding wheel? So you'd end if it was an old grinding wheel, have a little door gap. If it was a brand new one, he'd have a huge door gap. And you actually look at some of the factory processes trying to get the doors lined up. It's almost as good as British Leyland with the minis. Just get a big hammer, and if it didn't quite fit, put a piece of wood behind it, hit it even harder. Oh, look, it fits. And and that was
brilliant.
The engineering of them.
Brilliant.
But
and does that make it lighter as well? Is this a really light?
It's very, very light.
Right.
But it was also mostly, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Recycled material.
Yeah.
So it was a lot cheaper to build, not necessarily the fastest process or the cleanest process.
Yeah.
But it was easy and cheap.
Yeah.
So it's like fiberglass.
Yeah.
Just with cotton wool.
Yeah.
Which is a nice thing. It's quirky.
And how resilient is that? I mean, do you leave this outdoors, or is this in a garage normally?
This is now garaged, but it was outdoors. I think most of them do spend their lives outdoors. I think what sort of goes on the Trabis is sort of sometimes the metal work around sort of like the sills, and sort of the roofs as well. So basically, along the sort of trim of the roof is a sort of metal rail.
Yeah.
And they have a tendency to go as well if they're not properly maintained. But
they're 30-year-old cars.
Exactly.
You buy any 30-year-old car, you're generally going to find there's rot in them and issues with them. But you can go and buy a 30-year-old Ford, it's going to have probably the same issues. I think that's the thing, isn't it? You kind of forget sometimes that they are old cars, and they're going to need work continuously. You don't buy a classic car hoping it's going to work perfectly forever, do you? Like a modern car.
But I think because the design of these hasn't changed for a massive number of years, that this 1990 example is very similar to what you'd have from an earlier model. The only sort of major changes they really did was around the electronics. It went from 6 volt to 12 volt.
Right.
And very slight changes in body design, but it's generally always kept the sort of style with it.
Yeah.
From the 60s onwards.
Nothing I would notice, but to you experts,
the earlier ones a lot more curvy, aren't they? They look very, very cute and petite.
Right.
But they did become a little bit more boxy, didn't they? Late, with the P601s.
Yeah, I was surprised when you were talking earlier that you said that the Mini was exported to East Germany.
Yeah, there's quite a few bizarre ones that were exported to East Germany. From, I think one of them was like some of the Wolsleys were exported, Minis. There's such a bizarre list, and I really wish I got it with me. Because it is such an unusual list of cars.
Yeah, if you find it, drop me.
Oh, definitely.
I'd be really interested to know, because it seems bizarre that, particularly with the hard currency problems they had, that they would be bringing in those sort of cars. They get the Volvos and the big, the Politburo, runabouts.
There was. I put it up ages ago. Do you remember? Put it up on our Facebook club group. I'll drop it in here. We've got our own club for Facebook page for the club, haven't we? Which is Native East German Vehicles is the one to search, isn't it? But we've also got one which is supporters of the Wartburg and Trabant Club UK, which is generally the one we all use, even as club. It's not a club website, but it's obviously the supporters of it. And that's a brilliant site to go on if you have got interesting cars, or you just want to have a look at some photos. Go on there, because there's everything from videos, photos, like me last night putting up loads of photos from...
I saw your video of your latest run out in the Peak District, it looked like.
Yeah,
was that yours or not?
No, I wasn't there at that one. I was cruising around Italy at the time.
I was partly there. But it's a bit of a plug really for the club, because we host rallies throughout the year. We've just had one at Foxfield in Stoke-on-Trent in Staffordshire, at Foxfield Railway, where we sort of have a show day, which is normally the Sunday, where and it's free. People can come along and see the vehicles, and then enjoy the sort of the railway. But on the Saturday we have a road run, and that's normally through these sort of Peak Districts, and we'll sort of have a leisurely drive out. We'll go for lunch, but it's a great opportunity to give these cars, and we have a sort of varied collection of Trabants and Wartburgs and Barkases, which are the big East German vans. Motorbikes, MZ motorbikes. We sort of do lots with the MZ club as well. And it's a fantastic opportunity for us to take the vehicles out, but also a great opportunity for people to see these vehicles. And some people may never have seen a Trabant outside of their holiday to Germany or wherever, or they've seen it in the museum in Berlin or the museum at Cosford, for example, RF Cosford in Shropshire, where there's a Trabant. So it's a great opportunity.
We do open it up to all other Eastern European car clubs as well. So you'll have the Yugo owners.
Lada,
Polski
Skoda,
Fiat.
Polski Fiat. I mean, from even the big Russian trucks as well, like the Gazis, the Uazis, Zils. Anybody with an Eastern European vehicle is very welcome to come, and we always have just anybody that's got Eastern European cars, bikes, lorries, vans, buses. Because this year you had Hungarian-built bus, an Icarus. Come to the show this year, which I was very peed off about, because it's the one bus I want to go and have a play with. But we do have a bit of everything from military as well to just obviously the normal civilian cars. And it's always a good weekend. Beer, food, cars. You can't go wrong, can you?
And it's open, so even if you've just got an interest in these vehicles, you can come along. You can spend the weekend, with the club, and sort of enjoy the vehicles and enjoy sort of the talk always goes to sort of everything from politics to vehicles to food. It's very varied.
Well, I'll definitely add a link in the show notes to the site, and you're tempting me more to come along. I'm not sure I'd go for the vehicle, but I might come along to a weekend as a taster.
Well, next weekend, between 10-15 vehicles with a mix of East German camping displays to military vehicles,
that's
motorbikes.
Because that was one thing I was going to ask you about, because obviously I'm aware of people doing the whole military reenactment and stuff like that. So there are people who do the whole East German camping reenactment.
That's me. Yeah, from the huge trailer tents to
And how far do you take that authenticity? Do you
as far as I physically can, can't I? Even down to the East German parasol, which everybody hates with those vile red flowers over it. But even the curtains have to be original.
But there's this big resurgence of retro camping now. So this kind of fits in. This the stuff that Mark does. It kind of fits in well with that sort of resurgence of it.
In the previous years, we've had huge East German and Russian border displays. To 100-foot barbed wire fence being erected in the middle of a field with the east and the west. Checkpoints, all the soldiers there. I mean,
I saw a watchtower on one of them or something.
We do go
half-height watchtower.
That'd be War and Peace. But we do go to insane lengths with some of the military displays.
So we are now sitting in Alex's Trabi. We're about to go for a spin. I'm not sure what that was. What was that?
Me moving myself.
Oh, okay. And looking at the dashboard, rudimentary would probably be an understatement. As to what have you actually got there? Speedometer, mileage.
We've got a speedometer, which obviously does your trip. It's got a trip computer on as well, or a trip per needle. You've got the mileage of the car. You've got here, which is a fuel flow sensor. I've disconnected mine because they tend to have mine certainly leaked a little bit. But what that does is tells you how much fuel is flowing to the carburettor. So if you've got your foot down and you're going uphill, it goes into the red, so you kind of need to back off and let it have a bit more fuel. And then from a switches point of view, you've got your hazard light switch, you've got your indicators, your gear change is on the steering column, a bit like an American car. You've got lights, so side lights and main lights. You've got your full beam on the indicator stalk. And you've also got your windscreen wipers and washer bottle as well. So it has actually got sort of spray jets for your windscreen, which is
and the other thing
lovely.
To remember,
height of luxury.
Western decadence.
And the other thing to remember, everything's in kilometres as well.
Right.
There's no miles an hour on the speedo, which like Alex has got a little sticker on the window that says that the conversion rate.
Right.
I memorised it within the first 5 minutes going down the road of buying it because of the amount of speed cameras down there. But that's one thing you always got to try and remember is obviously kilometres, not miles.
And what are those?
So down here,
there.
This is your fuel switch. So you have a main tank and a reserve tank, and next to it is your heating controls. So your hot air, your cool air, and whether you're having the air forced to the floor of the car, or whether you're having it blowing across your windscreen for sort of demisting in the winter.
Okay.
I mean, the heating is quite good in a Trabant, because
it gets as hot as the engine, because the heat originates around the engine, then gets blown through a load of tubes and then up in. So, especially in the winter, the faster you go, the hotter it gets, which is not necessarily a great idea in the snow sometimes, but it does work.
Yeah. And I presume the cooling is not brilliant. Open the window.
Yeah.
I think because obviously it's an air-cooled two-stroke, so you've got to be travelling to cool the engine anyway.
Yeah.
But the cool air pipe goes right above the engine, so any nice cool air that was outside that's coming in is now heated up.
Brilliant.
And gets even warmer as it comes in. So it is windows.
Brilliant. Okay.
And there's a choke down here, so I'm going to sort of ease the choke out a little bit.
Yeah.
And see if we can crank it going. Almost on the first play.
One thing you find is that no two Trabants will ever sound the same. Like mine is very, very, very heavy with the the typical two-stroke ning 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 noise. But then like Alex's is more of a purr than it is that traditional two-stroke noise. But you'll never find one that sounds the same.
They all sing differently.
Yeah, even if you've got two brand new engines, two new exhaust systems, they would sound completely and utterly different. It's a very, very unique thing with the Trabis. You think they'd be similar, but no.
Yeah, right, we're off. We're moving now. Just negotiating a speed hump as we come out the car park here at a massive 10 miles an hour. I'm assuming that is telling me miles per hour, that indicator on the front.
This has the additional option of a GPS speedometer in miles per hour as well. So this was an Amazon aftermarket edition.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting a made in the German Democratic Republic on that.
I mean, they pull well. We've got it to sort of speed quite well. The ride's a little bumpy, but that's all part of the fun.
No, I'm not complaining about the ride.
Good.
Well, one thing you find with the Trabi as well, but I've had experience with quite a few race cars that have been very, very heavily modified with very heavy suspension.
Yeah.
And the Trabi's still got that firmness of, kind of half race car, half domesticated car. But you can throw them round corners like a race car could.
Yeah.
And they don't really roll. The handling is fantastic. You've just got to have the up and go and the balls to do it sometimes to really chuck them about.
We're now at 40, almost 50 miles an hour. The background noise is mainly wind rather than engine noises. We've got the windows open, otherwise we'd be frying in here. But we passed another classic car. I think it was a Morris, wasn't it? That we waved at. It's obviously the done thing when you're driving a Trabi.
Oh, it's a classic car thing.
Yeah.
Always wave at other classic car owners. Always put your hand up.
Yeah.
99% of the time you always wave at each other and just oh, look, another one.
Yeah.
Whether it's a Trabi, whether it's a Moggy Minor or a Rolls Royce, you'll always have a little wave.
Yeah.
But you do find a lot of modern cars, especially with the Trabants as well, you'll always have somebody peeping, waving, flashing the lights.
Yeah.
Because it's something people aren't used to seeing. It is different, and it's not the everyday sort of classic people are used to.
So we're just slowing down and taking a bend here, and the cornering on this is better than I thought it would be, actually.
There's not a great deal of roll, is there?
So a bit of a hill climb coming up. I see, Alex, this has done 94,000 kilometres, or has that gone round?
I suspect it's probably gone round several times now.
Yeah.
So what's mine? Mine's on about 30,000, which is original.
Yeah.
And very low mileage.
Right.
But at the same time, that's been one of the worst things for it. Being low mileage, it hasn't really, everything perishes by not being used.
Yeah.
So a lot of issues I've had with mine is lack of use over the years.
Right.
Yeah, I think some of the advice I had from a club member when I first started was to make sure that you actually use the vehicle, don't leave it standing, and that's what causes problems with sort of brakes and all sorts of bits like that. So
Yeah.
If you are thinking of buying a Trabi, make sure you use it at least once a week, get it out there, get the brakes going, and most importantly, enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, this is the weather for it, absolutely.
Definitely. The thing is, I don't know if Alex agrees with me, that they are very much like a driver's car, aren't they?
Yeah.
You've always got to be thinking about it, because being the two-stroke motor, like a lot of motorbikes, if you come off the accelerator, the engine will start pumping and banging, or blow the engine up. So when you come off the throttle, you have to pull the clutch down.
Yeah.
So look at the Wartburgs, they had freewheel built in, so you can come off the accelerator and it disengages the gear.
Right.
Trabants don't have that, so you come off the throttle, it's still in gear and it starts pulling and it will start, really throwing a lot of back pressure.
So with the Wartburg, it was almost semi-automatic with that.
You could drive them as a semi-automatic. Because my old one, you could drive along, and once you're in first gear and you're moving, you just come off the throttle, put it into second, throttle back down, straight into gear.
Yeah.
The only time really you have to put the clutch down is when it stops. But so with the Trabi, it's a lot more involved in the driving style.
No powered steering here.
No power steering, but it's, as long as the steering's greased properly and everything's kept well, they are very light, aren't they?
Yeah.
So when I tow with mine, you think it'd be a lot heavier, having so much weight in it and on the back of it. It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
But everything's so simple, it's designed to be easy to use.
Yeah.
And so I did say that it hadn't got freewheel. In fourth gear it has got freewheel. So once you're in fourth, you can back on and off the throttle, which is fine on an open road, but when you're around the town centre or city centre, you're constantly clutch down, up, down, up, down, up, down, every time you're moving, which does become a bit of a ball ache.
Yeah. We're now at a very giddy 47 miles an hour. But we're going down a hill then, so slight reduction of the engine noise. But still getting a lot of wind noise on the microphone, so apologies for the sound quality.
But it is very enjoyable to drive. It's not hard work. It's very enjoyable.
Well, it sounds like you've done some very long runs down to southern Germany. So
Yeah, and I think luckily for me, Mark did most. We sort of decided to go together for that journey, and Mark kind of did most of the driving for that. And
Just over 2,000 miles we did in 7 days, didn't we?
but I don't think it was too bad for you, was it?
No. Once I figured out a position I could nearly lie down and drive, it was quite good. I'll say that if you're tall, it's not the most spacious car in the world.
yeah,
You do end up driving some very bizarre angles. So strange, Alex knows I generally drive barefoot, don't I? Because it's easier than driving with shoes on. It's absolutely, it gives you that little bit more space manoeuvrability.
yeah.
So we did just over 2,000 miles, and the only issue we had was a bit of a dicky gearbox halfway through. Generally down to my stupidity of doing over 80 mile an hour in a Trabi down the autobahn.
Is that too much?
little bit. Yeah, it was just me being silly bugger, wasn't it? But that was within the first 2 days, wasn't it? And it still did another 1,500 miles with the broken gearbox. And it's done another 1,000 since with the same gearbox.
Yeah.
So it just proves how resilient they are.
Yeah. So we're now coming up a hill. About 45 miles an hour now. It's quite I would say it's sort of a light ride, but you do rock about quite a bit, don't you?
Yeah, there is quite a bit of rock and roll, but it's not not too harsh, is it?
No.
The only problem is it's kind of more rolling, isn't it, like a baby roller?
It is. I mean, it's that rolling movement. It's a bit like being on a boat.
Yeah. Especially with the back seats as well. The back seats and Trabis are very, very bouncy.
Yeah.
The front you find a bit more firm, but the back you do roll around quite a lot. But how do you find the actual comforts as being in the back of one as well?
It's not bad. I mean, you move the seat forward a bit, so I am, and you've got your knees right up at the dashboard, so you have flattered me somewhat with the space in the back here.
I've had four fully grown men in one of these. That's an experience.
Wow.
It gets tight, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, there's 4 fully grown men with all the military kit on.
Wow.
In the saloon as well. The saloon, you've got slightly less leg room in the back as well.
Yeah.
So you can imagine what that was like. It's, you wouldn't want to go too far, put it like that.
No. What, AK-47's the lot?
Oh yeah. I mean, everything from the webbing, all the, obviously the ammo pouches, your map cases, AK-47 in hand, and trying to drive round. It's interesting. I think we did that around a tank course as well. So we went around a full-blown off-roading course with it, and it's only front-wheel drive. But they are very resilient. You can fly them across fields, can't you, off-roading? That's the only bad thing with me. I probably do abuse mine a bit too much. Alex is very sensible with his driving and very calm.
High praise indeed.
Yeah. I'm the opposite end of the scale where it's flat out everywhere, isn't it? The problem having the slightly operated engine, isn't it? You just want to use all the power, don't you?
You've got it there, you might as well use it.
Oh yeah. And the great thing is, especially around the town centres as well, because they are very, very, very nippy low end.
Yeah.
So you can outdo a lot of modern cars with the low end speed.
Right.
So you always see these people pull up the side of you, thinking, oh, we'll get straight past it. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
It's a challenge for a Trabant. Can we keep up in modern traffic?
So how long have you had this one, Alex?
So I've had this for just under 3 years now.
Okay.
But it's been an absolute
3 years today.
3 years today, eh?
Because you went home and bought it after Stafford Castle show, didn't you? It's Stafford Castle show today.
So yeah, this is the 3-year anniversary.
Oh, well, how apt that we're doing this interview now then. Happy birthday, Trabi.
Happy birthday, Trabi. But it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been enjoyable from my point of view. I'm very fortunate that people like Mark are very mechanically minded and have helped me out greatly, and other club members as well. But it's kind of been an enjoyable experience in sort of learning a bit more about cars and mechanics and fixing and all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, it's a good journey.
One thing I'll say is I bought mine 6 years ago last Friday. It's actually in my calendar as Trabi birthday. But the friends I've made through owning this as well,
I've quite a few classic cars, and I've had classic cars over the years, and member of different clubs. And I'm not saying that the clubs are bad at all, but sometimes you can get very cliquey and very little groups in them. But I found with the Wartburg and Trabant Owners Club that if you've got a £50,000, you know, kind of Volga, a big Russian Imperial car, or a £500 Trabant, you're not treated any different. You're welcomed as a member. You just who you are. There's huge camaraderie, isn't there? If somebody breaks down, everybody's there to help each other, and great friendships happen. I feel like me and Alex. We're kind of brothers in arms now, aren't we?
Sounds like true communism.
It
is. Everybody is equal. You know, say that whatever you do, everybody looks after each other, and if somebody breaks down, somebody's always got a spare part to help you. You're always there to help each other out. There's nothing more than that, is there? And enjoying ourselves.
Right.
And especially if you like a good drink as well, it's a great club.
Oh, well, there you go.
Just don't drink and drive, children.
No.
There we go.
Oh, well, here we are back at the car park we started from, safe and sound.
How do I get out?
Yeah, I'm just working out how I undo my seatbelt. Now I've got to clamber out of the back here.
There we go.
Oh, right, great, thank you. Typically, I've got the cable caught. There, I've been freed.
It's an experience, isn't it?
I'm freed. I'm out. Well, that was quite a ride there in the back, actually, because it is a bit like being in a boat.
Yeah. It is a lot more springy in the back end of them than it is in the front. The front's a lot more firm, isn't it? You're in the back, you do bounce up and down.
Yeah. Well, that was all we had time for. But for those of you now wanting to rush out and buy a Trabi, or maybe just to learn some more about this iconic vehicle, there's extra information in the show notes. The show notes can be found at coldwarconversations.com/the word episode and the number 22. If you like what you are listening to, please do join our vibrant Facebook discussion group. Just search for Cold War Conversations, and do leave reviews with your podcast provider. Special thanks to Sydney17 and Little Derek, who have kindly left some really good reviews on iTunes recently. Thank you very much for listening and supporting the podcast. It is really appreciated. Goodbye.
This is the Voice of America, Washington, D.C., signing off.